Hi, I'm Peter King of Sports Illustrated. Along with my colleague Michael Silver, it's my pleasure to introduce the 1995 Miami Dolphins video yearbook.
In this Sports Illustrated special presentation, we're going to give you an exclusive look at Miami Dolphins football, past, present, and future.
And we're going to start with a review of the 1994 Dolphins season, a highlight package we call Back Where They Belong. And Michael, in 1994, Dan Marino was back where he belonged, under center for the Dolphins, the best quarterback in the AFC statistically last year. The one difference in the Dolphins last year, it seemed to me, was the play of Tim Bowens. He's finally given them at defensive tackle a backbone that they haven't had in a long time in the Don Shula years. They've done a lot to help themselves this year. What do you think of them now?
Well, if drafting Bowens last year was the first step in really making this team a Super Bowl contender, the next step was getting Eric Green at tight end to replace Keith Jackson. Green from Pittsburgh, best blocking tight end in football, one of the best pass receivers. This guy wanted to get a little pizzazz in his life. He's going to get a chance to really be a star down in Miami. Then they get two players, Trace Armstrong, pass rusher from the Bears, and Terrell Buckley, speed cover guy from Green Bay, who will help the nickel defense. They may not be around long, but they may be around long enough to win the AFC one year.
And Michael, this may be Don Shula's last year. How often do we hear that? Could be key for the Dolphins because it looks like they are gearing up for one big run at the Super Bowl. These are just some of the things we're about to see. For in addition to 1994 highlights, we've also got a preview of the 1995 Dolphins season, as well as a special trip down memory lane in our Dolphins Classic segment.
That segment will feature a look back at the exodus of Dolphins greats Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Paul Warfield to the World Football League.
So without further ado, Sports Illustrated proudly presents the 1995 Miami Dolphins video yearbook.
It's all in the details. The precision of a perfect snap. The quarterback's instantaneous read of a defense. And a receiver's single-mindedness of purpose. In 1994, the Miami Dolphins dedicated themselves to conquering the details. They wound up masters of the game. An offensive line with two All-Pros patrolled the pit with savage success. The purposeful strides of a rejuvenated running game gave the Dolphins the bounty of new options. While an old pro returned with the fire of a legend. The most explosive offense in the game was complemented by a defense which redoubled its efforts and reaped the dividends of prudent picks. It was a team of tangible talent, certainly, but more than that, it was an ensemble of unusually dedicated men determined to return the Dolphins to the NFL's elite. Big plays ensured that the Dolphins reached their goal, but even bigger hearts produced much more, including the Dolphins' 15th division title, and perhaps more important, the knowledge that the Dolphins are truly back up where they belong, poised to bring an NFL title back to Miami. In their AFC divisional showdown against the Chargers, the Dolphins displayed the explosiveness of a team capable of monumental achievements, as Dan Marino threw 3 spectacular touchdown passes. In the end, it wasn't enough to carry the day, but the season had long since been won. In fact, it was in Week 1 that the 2 greatest comebacks of the season occurred. the first was the return of Dan Marino. The second came courtesy of number 13 and his 5 touchdown passes.
Back to pass. He throws downfield. Has a man open. Mark Ingram has it at the 30. He's to the 20. 10. He is gone. Oh, touchdown. Yes! 3rd down. 15 to go. Gigantic play for the Dolphins here. He's looking. Has time. Throws into the end zone. Keith Jackson has it. Touchdown, Dolphins. Oh, yes! Shotgun formation. Marino takes the snap. He's under pressure. Dodges the rush. Now throws deep downfield. Has a man open. It's caught. Irving Fryer. Touchdown. Danny Marino is back, baby. He's got Fryer wide open. Marino to Fryer at the 15. 10-5. Touchdown. Dolphins.
It was vintage Marino, but it wasn't enough. Trailing by 3 points with just over 3 minutes to play, lesser teams might have been desperate. The Dolphins were undaunted. It was 4th and 5. Reason suggested only a flicker of hope, but a fearless Irving Fryer and the peerless Dan Marino instead answered with an inferno of desire.
Shotgun. Marino throws deep downfield. It is caught by Fryer. Touchdown! Touchdown, Dolphins! Marino to Fryer! Oh!
Courageous call! That's on 4th and 5!
Unbelievable!
What a game by Marino! You talk about championship courage. You talk about a will to win. A flame burns inside that man, Dan Marino.
A week later, that flame became the Dolphins' guiding light. Two more touchdown passes erased any doubts about Marino's health, while an inspired defense quashed any thoughts of a Packer comeback. Big plays had the Dolphins headed in the right direction, and a return to Joe Robbie Stadium provided the inspiration for improvisation.
Marino, play action, rolling to the right side, could run if he wants to, but fires downfield, complete to Jackson at the 10. He's at the 5, still going. Wow! Flyers in for the touchdown! Marino with a long count on 2nd down, pitches back to Parmalee, sweeping left this time, he's at the 5, he's in! Touchdown, Dolphins, Bernie Parmalee.
Take a big foul, Bernie.
At 3-0, the Dolphins were beginning to take center stage in the AFC and making it look easy. 2 weeks later, they made history as Don Shula's Dolphins met David Shula's Bengals, marking the first time in NFL history that a father and son faced each other as head coaches.
Klingler takes the snap straight back to pass. Everybody out on the pattern. He throws downfield. It's tipped up in the air and intercepted.
Miami's defense brutalized the Bengals, forcing 5 turnovers. Dan Marino forced his offense to concentrate.
Just didn't come flat, but don't stop. Big stop. Okay, come on. Come on, James, go down!
Trying to beat the play clock. Takes the snap. He's looking. Throws into the end zone. Complete touchdown, Mark Ingram.
Don Shula was undoubtedly proud of his son, but Miami's defense is something to be proud of as well. It's quickly becoming one of the most aggressive units in the game. And in Marco Coleman, Jeff Cross, Tim Bowens, and All-Pro Brian Cox and others, Miami has the men with not just the aptitude, but the attitude to neutralize any offense. Tim Bowens justified his selection as a first-round pick and proved a quick study and even quicker at shooting a gap as he earned NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year honors, while Brian Cox successfully moved to middle linebacker and led the team in tackles and earned his second trip to the Pro Bowl. Against the Raiders in Week 7, The Dolphins' defense flexed some muscle by flying to the ball and flattening the quarterback. If the defense was fired up, Dan Marino was on fire.
Marino under center, takes the snap, he's back to pass again. He's looking, he throws into the end zone. It's complete for a touchdown to Keith Jackson.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Keith Byers' clutch catch tied the score. In overtime, it was up to the best kicker in the game to untie it.
Snap is down, the field goal is up, and it is good! Yes! Pete Stoyanovich hits a...
At 5-2, the Dolphins were alone atop the AFC East. In Week 9 against the Patriots, Miami's defense once again dominated early.
Knock him out, baby. Get him back down there. Shake him up. And defensively, we take it away. Offense, points on the board. Let's go. If he don't double you, you got to make that play.
Miami was making all the plays and doing it with style.
So is back, a four-man rush. He's under some pressure. Drew Bledsoe's hit. He throws, it's tipped, and it's intercepted at the 30-yard line. What a tremendous athletic play that time by Jeff Cross.
With the Patriots' offense a non-factor, Bernie Parmalee left New England nonplussed, piling up 123 yards on the ground. It was an awesome display of power running and an equally powerful statement about the Dolphin offense.
Marino, play action. He's rolling out to the right, throws to Byers at the 5. Keith Byers is into the corner. Touchdown, Dolphins.
My goodness gracious, have the Dolphins seized this one.
Of course, a powerful offensive line helps. Burt Widener, Ron Heller, and All-Pros Richmond Webb and Keith Sims protect the irreplaceable Dan Marino from the unthinkable. But it isn't easy. Look and listen to what it takes to shut down All-Pro defensive end Henry Thomas. Whether it's giving Marino time to hit Keith Byers or opening holes for Terry Kirby, the Dolphins' offensive line holds one of the keys to the Miami running game. But after injuries to Kirby and Byers, Bernie Parmalee held the other. After spending 2 years largely on special teams, circumstances forced Bernie Parmalee into the starting lineup, where he proved to be a very special player.
Pitch to Bernie Parmalee. He's at the 5. Parmalee, touchdown! Dolphins! Miami!
His 800 yards were a godsend to any running corps beleaguered by injuries. But more vital than any statistics was his heart. Still, if the Dolphins were happy to have a runner with breakaway ability, Bernie Parmalee was just happy to have had a chance.
I was looking back, you know, at the road that I took. It just goes to show that hard work pays off sometimes, you know. They kept me around for 2 years, and I just wanted to show them that it was worthwhile keeping me. I just wanted to show them that sometimes you don't have to be a #1 pick. It all starts, you know, on your attitude towards the game and what you feel inside if you're hungry enough to go get it. I'm just happy, really, that the Dolphins gave me an opportunity when no one else wanted to, and I'm very thankful for that.
In Week 10 against the Colts, another runner stepped in and stepped up.
Keeping right, follows a block by Saxon. He's at the 5, breaks a tackle. He's in, touchdown!
All right, Miami, that was a nice drive, and they finish it off.
Still, the Dolphins trailed by 9 points with less than 8 minutes to play.
High snap. Marino pulls it down in the shotgun. He's looking, throws down the middle. Complete to McDuffie at the 5. Makes a move. He's in. Touchdown, Dolphins.
Good God.
Down by 3 points, there was little choice but to attempt a field goal. And once again, Pete Stoyanovich had to step to the fore.
The snap is down. The field goal attempt is up. It's good. Pete Stoyanovich, 34 yards. Dolphins lead by 1.
All right.
It was the 13th time Stoyanovich had delivered either a game-tying or game-winning kick in the fourth quarter.
This will be a
Game fortune proved fickle a week later against the Bears as a volley flummoxed the Finns.
It's rolling to the right side. He's looking to pass. Tucks it down. He's hit, gets away from one man, throws it downfield now, and it is caught on a tip by Jennings. He's in for the touchdown. It will be a 39.
A week later in overtime, fate and timing conspired against the Dolphins. At 7-4, the Dolphins were floundering. Even worse, the specter of another late-season collapse hung in the air.
It looks awfully grim.
Yeah.
It's going to take a miracle.
And when the Jets jumped out to a 24-6 lead in Week 13, well, things looked bleak. But the Dolphins looked at the schemes and found a chink in the Jets' armor. Then, Dan Marino found the fortitude to forge yet another miracle comeback. Facing an 18-point deficit, Marino knew he would have to be perfect. He was.
Touchdown, Dolphins! It is Mark Ingram on the catch again.
Can they be coming back again?
Nothing's safe with Dan Marino on the other sideline.
Jets coming with a blitz. Play action. Marino, half roll to the right, throws down the middle. It's Ingram again. He caught it for the touchdown.
With time running out, determination wasn't enough. What the Dolphins needed was inspiration.
And the Jets are reeling right now, baby.
Who won 7? Who won 7? 7. With 32, 31, 30 seconds to go. I believe Marino is saying I'm going to spike it.
Convention said he would. Strategy said otherwise.
Takes the snap from center. He's looking. He throws. Touchdown, Dolphins! Mark Ingram caught it in the corner of the end zone in front of Eric Glenn. His 4th touchdown catch of the game. That was unbelievable. They caught the Jets off guard on that play.
I think we sort of lulled them asleep. They were expecting the clock play to kill the clock, and Dan looked down at the ground and then just threw it to Ingram, and he made a great catch on it. The important thing is the last couple of ball games have been heartbreaking losses, and today was a great win. All right.
It was a great win. But then it came courtesy of a player whose greatness is nonpareil. In 1994, Dan Marino reaffirmed his place in the pantheon of pro football. For the record, Marino was named an All-Pro, the comeback player of the year, while throwing for more than 4,000 yards in a season for a record 6th time. His 30 touchdown passes were an AFC best. And with 328 for his career, Marino now stands a mere 14 TDs from Fran Tarkenton's all-time mark. Still, numbers aren't the story. After nearly 10 months away from the sport, Dan Marino proved that, at least metaphorically, he has no Achilles heel. His passes still have the sweet sureness of an expectation about to be fulfilled. And a newly acquired tight end Eric Green and the spectacular Irving Fryer, Dan Marino not only has all pros to throw to, but receivers who make the plays when it matters most. Marino is the brightest in an offensive jewel with many facets. But before a pivotal game against the Chiefs, the Dolphins took time out to honor a legendary offensive lineman from the past. Center Dwight Stevenson was enshrined in the Dolphins' honor roll. Then, the Dolphins rolled over Kansas City.
Trots in, touchdown, Dolphins!
Right, Miami.
A beauty.
Parmalee's nifty moves were one up by none other than Dan Marino. But on the night which saw the Dolphins score a season-high 45 points, perhaps the best moves came courtesy of the defense.
First and 10. Kansas City. Bono back to pass again. Has time. He's throwing deep down the left sideline. It is taken away. Intercepted by Gene Atkins. He's returning up the sideline. Go, Gene! Out to the middle. He's to the 40. To the 45. He laterals. He knocks down the official. And Troy Vincent is going. Troy! Field. Oh, my God! The 35. The 30. He's got it.
Oh my God, what a sensational play!
And what a night, as Bernie Parmalee officially made the game a runaway. Irving spikes ended the scoring frenzy. But with the win, Miami had begun a new quest.
Come on now. What we wanted right here. What we wanted right here.
With a playoff berth secure, the Dolphins were aiming at a division title. And on Christmas night, the Dolphins delivered the goods.
Hey, what a way to start the football game.
Christmas, baby. Merry Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Merry Christmas. And we got plenty more where that came from. Let's go.
Marino to Parmalee off left tackle. He's in. Touchdown, Dolphins.
This is a big-time butt kicking going on here.
Owner Wayne Huizenga had good reason to celebrate. At 10-6, the Dolphins were the AFC East champions for the second time in 3 years. But more than that, this was a team which had stood together when quitting would have been easier. Men who played not just with purpose, but pride.
Division champs. We're going to play at home next week. And we got to be happy about that. That was a great first half of football. And offensively, that first half was a thing of beauty. We went after them. We scored on our first drive. And that, that get ready for the playoffs. But the thing that we've got to do now is get it all back together. There's still some things that happened out there that we're not happy about. But the big thing is we're going to enjoy this win, the division champs, and the playoffs next.
The playoffs were a perfect test, not just of skill, but desire.
Everybody step it up! Let's cover that thing, make the hit, and we play defense. Score on offense. Let's go. Our day. Let's go.
The offense struck with the suddenness of a great idea, inspired and decisive.
He's at the 15, down to the 10, laterals to Saxon. He's at the 5.
All right, what an effort by Miami. And James Saxon, he was looking for the lateral this time.
And while the lateral was quick thinking, Bernie Parmalee quickly finished the job.
Hands to Parmalee. Parmalee takes it up the middle. He's in. Touchdown.
All right, Miami, what a hole.
Behind superb blocking, the Dolphins expertly parsed the Chiefs' defense, as Marino's deft passing was perfectly complemented by determined running.
Marino takes the snap, play action. He's looking to throw. He's back. He's under pressure. Fires. Complete touchdown to Ronnie Williams.
That's the way to play ball, baby. That's the way to play ball. I had to pull back the first time. I know. When you held it out there, I just knew there was somebody coming to my back. So I didn't know
Trailing by a touchdown before the half, the Dolphins needed an exclamation point.
Just got to punctuate it right now. Got to punctuate it right now. Make a statement. Punctuate it. Let's go, brother. Ain't get sick.
The all-pro to all-pro connection provided it.
Throwing the fade to Fryer. He's got it. Touchdown.
Still, Joe Montana's Chiefs had proved that they could score. But while Montana huddled up, the Dolphins' defense hunkered down. And thanks to 2 superb plays and even more superb season, was preserved.
At the 3-yard line. They tried to hit the quick slant pattern. J.B. Brown picked it off.
What a sensational play.
Miami's 27-17 victory spoke volumes about the 1994 Dolphins. This was a team of tangible talent, certainly, but more important, it was a team which had accomplished its mission to see that the Dolphins returned to the elite of the NFL. And make no mistake, the Dolphins are back, at the top, up where they belong.
In the long term, you're not looking at anything beyond 1995 for the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are the most here and now team in pro football right now.
That the Dolphins are playing for today is no surprise, given that the man who makes them go is running out of tomorrows.
I think Marino now, more than any other guy in the NFL, I think people root for him to get to a Super Bowl because they think how much of a shame it would be if he would play the last, 11, 12 years of his career without getting to a game, and then, if he never were to win a Super Bowl. He may go down as the player in the modern era, the best player in the modern era who didn't play on a Super Bowl champion. This is obviously a huge year, probably the hugest year of Marino's career, just because this is it. The Dolphins can say whatever they want about how they haven't mortgaged the future, they haven't sacrificed everything for this year, but let's face it, it's quite possibly Don Shula's last year. They have a huge number of significant players, including Brian Cox, turning free agent after the year. And they've traded a lot, a second, a third, and a seventh, and other stuff to get players like Terrell Buckley to be a nickel back, to get Trace Armstrong to be a nickel pass rusher. He'll play defensive end in the nickel for them. They've sacrificed an awful lot for a 16-game season. You look at it and you say, this is it. More than any other team in football, this is a team built for 1995.
While the Dolphins have to win quickly, they're not necessarily built for speed. Rather, the Fins need bulk up front.
The Dolphins have to do something. The defense last year wasn't enough. It wasn't going to get them to the Super Bowl. The Dolphins have made some moves this offseason, which I think allow them to do that. I think Trace Armstrong will help, just give him a little bit more consistent pass rush.
Speed will come from Tyrell Buckley.
You have to wonder about Terrell Buckley. He clearly was a flop in Green Bay, and yet the player we saw in college, he looked like potentially a Deion Sanders in the making. He has big play potential, he has speed, and maybe going home to Florida will allow him to flourish.
One player who should continue to flourish is defensive tackle Tim Bowens. As a franchise, the Dolphins have had a woeful history in the draft, which made this first-round pick's performance all the sweeter.
Remember last year in their Miracle of the Meadowlands game, where Dan Marino throws the clock ball pass to Mark Ingram to win the game. A lot of that late rally was made possible by Bowen's tremendous play in dominating the middle of the Jets line. On 2 consecutive plays on a very key Jets drive, smearing Boomer Esiason and really affecting the momentum of the game. The real interesting thing about Bowens is when Joe Green was scouting him and Tom Olivadotti was scouting him, they found that here's a guy who had only played 9 games of major college football and was coming out in the draft early. And how good was this guy? Well, they sat down with him, and Tom Olivadotti was really impressed. This guy knew how to use the film clicker. So obviously, clicking back and forth on the videotape, here was a guy who studied the game, who knew what he was doing, who just didn't sit back in the meeting room and sleep and then just go out and play on instinct. Here was a guy who worked hard.
Another hard worker is All-Pro linebacker Brian Cox. whose aptitude is exceeded only by his attitude.
I think defensively, the Dolphins right now, they have to have a great season from Cox for a couple of reasons. One, it's the last year on his contract. Number two, he wants to prove to people, not only for his contract, but for him personally, I know this guy, and I know that winning drives him. I don't think there's anybody in the NFL that plays with any more fire than he does. I think he makes up for a lot of what he doesn't have with what he has inside him. And I just think Brian Cox sees 1995 as the best chance he's ever had to win in the NFL, and maybe will ever have to win in the NFL.
Which inevitably leads us back to Marino. Entering the 95 season, Marino needs only 13 touchdown passes to break the all-time record. And sometime late next season, he should own the all-time mark for passing yardage as well. But for all the records he has broken, fans' hearts still break at the prospect of Dan Marino never getting back to a Super Bowl. But Marino isn't the only All-Pro with dreams of the big show. Irving Fryar has enjoyed back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons for the Dolphins, not to mention his rejuvenated flair for the spectacular.
Irving was one of those guys who broke into the league, and you figured he'd just be one of the best for years. You know, he was so highly regarded coming out of Nebraska. As quickly as the Patriots nosedived, so did he. Not to say his play declined, but you just didn't hear about him much. It's great to see that he got a second chance, and specifically the chance to team up with Dan Marino. I think Irving Fryar will still be a very, very important player for the Dolphins, at least for the next couple of years.
I think as far as receivers go, obviously there's not been a team that's changed as much as the Dolphins have this season. You have more of a blocking tight end than they've had there in a long time. I think that they've gotten Eric Green on that team as much for his ability to block in the running game, to be like a third tackle, as they have for any offensive ability, pass catching ability. I think as far as receivers go, Don Shula views Gary Clark as a significant upgrade to his third or fourth receiver slot, which Mark Ingram had last year, because Gary Clark is a real been there, done that guy, and is a leave it all on the field guy. I think he's really proven over time that he's done more in big games than Mark Ingram has.
Gary Clark's glory days may be behind him, but he remains the only receiver in NFL history to have recorded at least 50 receptions in each season since he joined the league. And with Randall Hill, Miami at long last has a true burner at wide receiver. So what does all this wheeling and dealing ultimately mean?
I think going into the season, they have as good a chance as any team in the AFC of getting to the Super Bowl. So things go well for them, things go right, they don't get hurt. Trace Armstrong can be a 10-sack nickel guy and really provide a spark. I think that they have a good chance to get to the Super Bowl. Now, having said that, I also think that in the past, we've looked at Miami and said, boy, they got a good chance to get there this year, and something has always happened. I think one of the things that is going to be really important for them, and it always has been important, are they going to be able to get a consistent running game through the year?
How Terry Kirby's knee responds to rehab will go a long way in answering that question. But even without him, the Dolphins are determined to find a way to run and win.
This team has to make a push to win now. They have the luxury of playing in the AFC a little better. They can at least get to the Super Bowl. And then I think, unlike San Diego or some recent AFC Super Bowl teams, just by having Dan Marino, you've got a chance to beat the NFC team in that Super Bowl. I think the Dolphins wisely are making a push to win now. I expect Miami to get there next year.
just had tremendous impact on the sports world. I mean, this was in the Japanese newspapers, it was in the French newspapers, it was in the UK newspapers. I mean, it was international because it was the biggest news in sports in years and years and years.
The two-time Super Bowl champions were being torn apart. Labor disputes threatened the 1974 season. Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Paul Warfield charged that the Miami Dolphins withheld their right to offer their services to other NFL teams, denying them the freedom to improve their financial situation in an open market system. They were not alone. Hundreds like them were prepared to test their market value in a rival league.
I think we were all more interested in staying with the Miami Dolphins rather than going to a new league. But we needed a bargaining chip or some leverage to deal with the Miami Dolphins.
Every plumber and electrician, every nurse, every gas station owner or attendant in the country can relate to this. We were in a situation where we were making $50,000 a year, which was a good salary for the NFL back then. And we're offered an opportunity to make $3.5 million over 2.5 years. That's why I left the Miami Dolphins.
Larry at the time just came off the MVP and was certainly a big name, and getting Paul Warfield, the greatest receiver ever, in my opinion, in the NFL. Whether I was the caboose or not, I don't know. But it was something new for me, and I like taking chances and adventurous things.
The adventurers Butch Kick and Sundance Zonka, along with Paul Warfield, offered themselves as a package to the Toronto Northmen, who served up inducements that the Dolphins and owner Joe Robbie would not match.
In our contract, I mean, the things we asked for were absolutely ridiculous by NFL standards. I mean, clothes, free airline tickets, limousine service, a brand new Cadillac Seville for each guy, brand new condominiums for each guy. Everything you could think of was covered. I mean, they didn't have to put one penny out of their pocket.
And Zonk called Coach Shula that day that we were going to sign, and more or less said we'd like to hear from Joe Robbie one way or the other, and we never received a phone call. So
the phone rang, and it was their representative saying that unless Joe Robbie matched the offer, that they were going to sign in Canada.
We banged back and forth. In the end, I remember Shula saying to me, "What do you want me to do? Get on my knees?" And I felt terrible because, I mean, I have the utmost respect for Shula. I mean, just a great, great person.
I'm sitting there with all of the dreams of what our team is capable of doing, and everything just looked like it was going to continue to get better. And then out of the clear blue, I find out that 3 of our best football players are going to be gone, and we're going to get absolutely nothing back in return. It was tough to handle.
At that time, I thought that they did what was in their best interest. From a team standpoint, of course, it was devastating, but it provided, at the same time, motivation for that 74 season. If you recall, they signed in 74 but didn't leave until 75. And the play of those 3 that year was extraordinary.
We didn't receive any negative feedback from anyone in the Miami Dolphin organization. We all knew that it was the last time we'd be together. We were committed to give it our very best effort to try to go to a 4th consecutive Super Bowl. We fell just a little bit short.
Body throws. It is.
The last play, the Stabler shot put into the end zone for the touchdown to beat us. That was a particularly crippling end of a great team. And even though you didn't like to see our 3 best players leave, they had a heck of an opportunity. Football's a very short career. I can honestly say that the players understood.
I think teams are comprised of individuals that have a great deal in common. And as a result, the fellas understood that we had taken an opportunity to make a lot of money and had no animosity towards us whatsoever. As a matter of fact, many of the players on the Miami Dolphins and many other teams in the NFL at that time improved their financial situation.
My salary tripled. And that didn't make me jealous or envious of them at all, I can promise you. I was very happy for them and happy for me.
The league died, but the signing of Zonka, Kick, and Warfield gave new financial life to every NFL player.
The kids today don't remember it probably, but it did a lot for the NFL and probably brought them up to nearly the levels they're at today. And I don't know that anybody can ever duplicate it again, but if they can, I hope I'm a part of it.